Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to continue our portfolio review session and looking at another example from a UX designer called Mehak. And Mehak is a UX designer based in India. He is self-taught, did not go to any school with a UX background. So from what I hear, Mehak find one of the greatest challenge he has faced is finding the right mentor and getting right direction in a career. So we're going to take a look at Mehak's portfolio today. He's been in the industry for roughly around 3 years now. So we're going to take a look at Mehak's portfolio today and see what we can learn from it. And before I start, just a quick reminder. So I share everything about UX from interviewing tips to portfolio review, design critiques on my channel. If you are interested on this topic, please subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any of my upcoming sessions. Okay, let's do it. So we are looking at the landing page of Mehak's portfolio. First of all, I love the landing page. The image is very inspiring. Let's take a look at the header. We have work, resume, about me. And on the right hand of the header, we have a couple of ways to get connect with Mehak from those social media links. And what we have, hola, I'm a UX designer from culture country India. I love to craft experiences which make life of billions of people easier and leave an everlasting impact on their lives. This is awesome. I think, you can started realizing in the actual text introduction here, Mehak has used different kind of like the style of the font to emphasize on certain things. For example, user experience designer, India, and easier, everlasting. There are a couple of keywords that seems like use the Italian font. It's a very subtle differentiation from the rest of the font. I think if you want those keywords to pop up more, you can try bold the font itself a bit more, so it actually pop out, stand out from the rest of the text a bit more. So just a minor critique on that. Then we have I believe technology was created to make our lives easier, better and not complex. Completely agreed. With my work, I try to craft experience which empower every person, delight them, and make them believe in the magic of digital technology a little more. I love that. I always really enjoy seeing a little bit about what you believe, what drives you, and as a UX designer. So I think this section is great. And followed by that, we have number 2, survey spectrum. Let's take a look what we have here. Looks like we have a couple of, this is probably talking about a type of design or type of work that Mehak has been doing. First one is web app and system design. And we have mobile app design. And the last one is microcopy, UX writing, and research. I see. And there's a paragraph followed by each section talking a bit more details. Like, for example, the first one, web app and system design, there's more like in details explanation of, okay, designing apps for desktop and laptop. What is this type of like work or scope that I think is probably one of the, covering different type of service or different type of work that Mehak has the expertise on. I think the visual here feels a little bit jumpy. I think it's helpful to have, if you want to have this kind of session to emphasize your strengths. For example, you have done a lot of web app, and also you can do mobile app, and also you have specialized and some experience working about writing and research. But first of all, the 3 image over here looks very different. First of all, in terms of the orientation, the left and the right one is in the landscape, and the one in the center is in a portrait mode. So it feels very a little bit inconsistent over here. And my eye, while reading the subject line, I think one of the key words you have here is the 3 different type of like service you want to highlight. And I have to, the view actually is jumping up and down. So first of all, I would definitely recommend make the image in the same orientation. If you want to use portrait, use all portrait. If you want square, use all square. So they are at the same level. On the second note, I think you can select a bit better image to communicate your message over here. I think the center one image here communicates well, like this is talking about mobile app design, but the one on the left with the sketch I get, yeah, it's kind of a lo-fi, you just want to show some of the process, but I think to make this look even more professional and clean, I would recommend select a different image, you know, to communicate better of the service you're referring here, specifically about web app and system design. Yeah, and overall, the next section we have, let's see, principles. It's talking about so for one, extend to many, aesthetics, integrity, design for humans, not users. Love that. And there's a last section talking about strengths, which define me. Yeah, so it looks to me, yeah, this section talks a bit more about the designer himself. He's an emphasizer, he's a believer, storyteller, and leadership. Okay, and the last section, this is the get in touch. Let's work together and you can connect with me through those channels. This is great. So overall impression of the landing page, I think it's well done. You did a really good job about telling the users who you are and what you feel passionate about. So some critique, besides the ones we talked about in this area about service spectrum, that our image selection and layout. Another impression is I feel like the landing page is a bit more text heavy. You know, it might be something to do with the actual font selection and the size. I think there's something you can do to make this feels a bit more lightweight in reading, but more using image and visual guidance to make this landing page even stronger. So have a better balance of the use of image, visual component versus text, so it doesn't feel like there's too much like reading and long paragraphs involved that can always kind of create a little bit burden on the audience side. But overall, I think it looks great. So cool, let's take a look at one of the projects that Mehak has worked on in his portfolio. So I'm gonna click on to work and see what are some projects we have here. Oh cool, so this is a nice grid view. There are a couple of projects here from Tryout, Vodafone Fly Air, imprints 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, cool. So yeah, looks like this designer has a good number of projects, case studies here. There are a total number of 6, which I think is more than plenty. So this is a good amount of work to demonstrate on your portfolio. And the grid view is very clean. As you hover over with the mouse, it's turned into grid out and shows a bit more about, okay, what is the name of this project? Okay, so with the limited time, we're gonna take a look at the first project that is called Tryout. Shop, try, and go. Let's take a look. Cool, so now we're looking at the project page of Tryout. And starting with the hero image, there is the overview. Tryout is an application which is designed keeping in mind the future of retail, experience of the customer face while standing in long queue outside trial rooms and cashier, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm not gonna read every single word here, but first of impression, this is a little bit too long. And as an overview, it's fine, but I think it will be helpful to highlight some keywords to help the audience know immediately what is this product, what is the problem you're solving here. And yes, you can explain that in a bit more details, but if you have one sentence that really takes you to the key problem or challenge you're solving here, use the bold text or really highlight that one sentence. Yeah. And so here, this section is nice. Project deliverables, UI, tappable prototype, my role, and the project context. Talk a bit more about how long it has taken. I think this section is always super helpful to give a high level idea of what's your role and what you have worked on. Next, we have backstory. Is that talking about background? What is backstory? Let's see. Okay. I guess this section talk a bit more about this designer's vision for this application. It should make users' life easier, and then it should also be very useful, should add value to the life of the user. It sounds a bit, to me, a little bit general. Of course, I'm in a glancing mode, so I'm not reading every single word, so I might be missing some level of detail, but as I mentioned in those portfolio reviews, I will be evaluating those portfolios more from a hiring manager's perspective. So like I always or most of the case will do, I will be scanning through the case study rather than reading every single word. So next session, we have design challenge. How might we make the shopping experience of the customer more fluid and reduce the time spent by the customer in long queues outside trial rooms and cash counters? I see. Okay, this is the line I was looking for. So this is what I was referring as more of the problem statement. And I'm glad that the designer is actually making this area more standing out with a larger font and highlighting different keywords in a different color to really make it easy to read. Then we have the process. 1, define a problem, collect research info, brainstorm, ideate, build, develop solution, and analyze. Cool. So yeah, I think it's typical to have, you can have some visual ways to showcase how you proceed or approach the problem. This sounds like a quite typical way of how you present or approach the project. I like the way you actually called out, for example, in the number 1, define the problem. What did you actually do? Like first, clearly define the problem statement, do requirement gathering, hold user interview, survey, and define usability goal. What from the first like impression, I think this section has some value there to explain your process. However, when I read a little bit into the call out, it sounds too general. You know, it sounds like it can be something you just take directly from somewhere else, another website, just explaining what is the typical UX process. But what I think can be more valuable is to make it relatable to yourself, to your specific project on this tryout. So, for example, what you have done to define the problem and help you understand this is your focus. And when you get to brainstorm what you do, use some very brief sentence here rather than talking general. What is the process, which sounds too broad and not quite relevant. And then we have identifying the user and audience. Like the illustration, based on the analysis, I came out with 3 user persona. Okay, this is the persona that Mehak has looked into for, like in terms of, you know, identifying the most important category of people whom this app is going to impact. Then we have the challenge and goals. Seamless shopping, spend less time standing in a queue, faster checkout. I love the 3 columns over here. Along with the visual, it actually really clearly convey, okay, these are the main challenge that were identified. And those are the 3 focus that will probably lead to the next steps. Then there's the research inspiration to take it forward. And the key study 1, Microsoft vision for digital retail. What is this? What is key study? Is that a competitor analysis? Okay, let's take a look. Microsoft is doing this. And there's a key study 2. What is the finding? These 4 Microsoft pillars are helping reimagine retail and accelerate transformation. Showcase, okay, I guess this is probably part of the competitive analysis. It looks like there's a key study 1 based on Microsoft, and then case study 2 based on Amazon Go. And there are some findings or learnings. Then there's the case study 3 based on Sneaker Boy, Australia. Okay, and then followed by that, there's ideation, brainstorming. This is the part, okay, I might be wrong, but I think this is probably the competitive analysis. But the way how this is reviewed here feels a little weird. I would try to make it, if this is a competitive analysis, I would call it out. I did this kind of studies to help me understand blah, 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 why you're doing those studies. And the level of information you put in here seems a little bit too much. I think from a hiring manager's view, I don't necessarily care the detail of what Amazon Go is doing well or Microsoft has doing well in retail. But what I care more is what you're learning by doing those competitive analysis, by doing those studies, and how does that findings guide you to your next step of design work. So I try to make those part a little bit condensed. And do you have to take this amount of space on your website to show it? Question mark. I will leave it up to you to decide. But I think overall, the point is I think you can make this session more clear in communicating the message you're trying to explain to the hiring manager. and how does this support your project? Then it comes to ideation, brain netting. Okay, there's some, I think, different problem statement, how Mehak has approached those concepts, and there are some sketches over here. Looks like a whiteboard, probably a whiteboard brainstorming and framework, some wireframes. I wonder if this is the actual wireframe you actually did while working on this project, or this is just a picture, because it just looks, again, I think too general. There's nothing specific about tryout that I can tell from this level of wireframe, so that might raise a little bit suspicious from the viewer side. Okay, is this just an image you got from the internet, or this is actually what you have done as you're working on this project? So if you have done some actual wireframing, either it's hand sketch or used a sketch or Figma, whatever tool you used, I would try to show the actual example rather than something too general. Oh, okay, there we go. See, I think these are probably what I was looking for. But in terms of the visual presentation, I think you can make this a little bit more polished. Yes, I get is hand sketch, it might look a bit messy, but you know, if you're taking picture or scanning of it, you can adjust the contrast and clean it up a little bit. And also, if you don't feel this is very like, you don't want to make this an eye-catching moment or taking too much attention, because again, this is low fidelity. You know, by looking at this, the only message I can get yet is you have done some brainstorming and low fidelity wireframe. That's all I need to know. I won't be able to understand the details you write in those screens. So I don't think you have to show it in this size of full width, taking the whole attention of the web browser, rather than a few, maybe a smaller size of window, either a slideshow or just a couple of image, maybe in a smaller space, just to enough amount of information to show, okay, this is the process. These are some of the ideations that I did. Then we get to, okay, snapshot of screen, wireframe, iterations, treasure, landing on final design. After working on the ideation, okay, I guess this is probably the finalized design, giving freedom to user to select a store of their choice, which is nearby, open, and most accessible. This is, I like the structure that Mehak has over here. So it's, again, calling out the most important message of what lead to his final design. User pain point, no way to access the stores nearby in real time, no way to know any information about the store. And he talked a bit about business tag challenge and the solution. To solve this particular pain point, several iterations were made. The final screen was made, keeping in mind that when user log into the app, he could be able to easily see the open stores nearby his location. Not only that search option allows user to search for a particular store, but also user can slide down. I guess it's talking about this carousel, this horizontal carousel area, to see a list of stores available nearby. Cool. Okay, so this looks like a good section explaining the final design. There are a couple of more screens. Welcome. I guess this is the onboarding maybe. Oh, what is this? Is this something to do with AR? I don't know. It looks interesting. There are tags over different merchants and this retail business that is 12 meters away, and providing access to the retail store to the user in real time, just one click. Okay, this is another section. Okay, I guess this is talking about another user pain point. What is the challenge and what is the solution? I see. So there is a line that breaking this two up that I just realized, which I think visual-wise, you can probably improve it a bit more to make it clear enough that, for example, maybe before you get into the screen here, make it a clear subject line that this is talking about another problem that you're solving for providing access to the retail store. And then show the visual and more detail. So you don't rely on the audience, just keep scrolling and then figure out, oh, is this paragraph actually attached to the screens above or the screens below? Then there's another section talking about another problem or solution and how Mehak has lent onto those solutions. I think this is great in terms of telling final design and why you landed onto certain design. but the layout is something I feel like there is a lot of room for you to improve over here. Number one, the background, it seems like you're showing some low fidelity wireframe overlapped with the hi-fi screen on top. Personal opinion, it looks a little bit too busy. It's up to you how you want to present it, but I think you can make it a cleaner way to focus on what's your final design. And the story you laid out over here at each sections, the pain point, challenge, and solution, I think it's great. It's really telling and explaining the stories behind, like how and why you landed onto those final design. But because of the size we have right now, I have to scroll past the visual to actually read the story and scroll back to the screen to see, what actually is in your design. You see what I'm talking about? So I think try to introduce the perception, okay, you are doing a portfolio. Take it as a product, as a UX designer, and me, the hiring manager or recruiter, will be your user, and emphasize your user and think how their experience should be or how to optimize their experience. Is this the best layout or structure to help them understand your story? Or maybe there are other ways you can do to help them really grasp the highlight of why you landed onto certain design solutions. Cool. I think now we're getting to the end of the project. There is a summary section at the end talking about the result and some afterthoughts. Then I see there are some data Mihak has here talking about how this the design has impact of the business. This is awesome. Always love having some data to talk about your impact and the result. So overall, I think this is a very complete story, design story and project that Mihak has explained it in details from the beginning to the end of how he approached the problem, from research and competitive analysis, and how he got into the different solutions and the final design. Overall impression, I think, number one, this is a strong story to tell. Number two, you have done a good job in terms of breaking out it into different sections. With this blue banner, I think it's pretty easy to read. However, I feel like the amount of information here is a bit overwhelming, especially the text portion feels a little bit too much. So I would recommend number one, to condense the story and make it shorter, and also maybe adjust the font size a little bit to make it really clear what's the key point. And number two is around the visual. We talked a little bit here. I think some of the case you show, for example, in finalized design, it's good to see the phone mark that reflects, okay, this is the final design, but does it really help to show the wireframe behind, which was before you actually land down to the final solution? Does it help in any way, or it actually add more busy or confusions in those presentations? So visual presentation, I think, is something you can continue working on and polish this portfolio. I think you have more than enough materials to show in this case study, but the challenge here is more of how to make the most important information really stand out. No matter you're using visual call out or bolded text or bullet point, overall it feels kind of long right now. So I definitely will be missing some information as I'm scanning through the story. So how do you, guide your user in this case as they're reading through or scanning through your case study? What are the stopping points you want them to pause and you really want to grab their attention on? So yeah, I think that's overall my comments on this project. Try out. Looks a very interesting case study. And let's go back to the homepage. So as we always do, the last thing we'll be looking at is the About Me page. Hey there, I'm a designer residing in Culture Country, India, UX designer working at Tata Consultancy, Journey UX has, okay. So overall impression, I think it's always good to have an About Me page. So from the recruiting or hiring manager's perspective, I have a chance to know a bit about you as a person, beyond professional side of skill sets and so on. So it's always good to have this section. Things that I think you can improve or make it even better is to again, I think to introduce some visual to make this page more interesting to look at. And also in terms of the text, I think, you know, similar as the landing page and the case study we looked at, it feels a bit too much text heavy. So, you know, I would try to work around with the font, the style, and along with visual component, how to make this section that's super easy to read, feel lightweight enough. So right now, all the text is treated like in the same size and font. And if I feel like I don't have the time to read everything, I might just pass it or skip it. And if you bold or call attention, either use color or bold, like to call attention to a couple of keywords, that can always help. So you can use visual, use pictures, and however way you want to treat it to make this page even more exciting. So that's all I have for today. I hope this kind of review is helpful for you guys. And overall, I think Mihak has done a really good job in putting together his portfolio. And I can tell that you are very involved in the project story. So you are like going into the details to tell like the story step by step and how you treat each challenge and come into the solutions, the background. So the good side is, yes, you had the experience, you have done a lot of good works that you can put into the portfolio. But on the other hand, I also want to mention, you know, portfolio, most of the case with the goal is to get you to an interview or help you move forward into an interview process. So you don't really have to show everything. And I think, you know, as a product or UX designer, it's always helpful to keep a mindset that treating portfolio as a product and how can you help your audience or your users have a better experience when they opened your portfolio. You know, what is the success look like to you? What do you want them to take away from looking at your portfolio? So yeah, I think that's conclude our portfolio review today. And there will be more exciting stuff to come. Feel free to leave me any comments here, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.